up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with another toy review. This time I'm reviewing G.I. Joe Retaliation Jinx. I think this is from wave 3.5 or 4 or whatever. The last wave we've seen in stores. So she did an awesome job as Jinx. She looked the part. I even dug many of the designs. Actually, I dug how she looked in the movie altogether. I just wish Hasbro paid attention. Here are some of the concept arts of, various designs that she was going to have, and you can see it's been a cross between Storm Shadow and her original design from A Real American Hero. This is the concept art for what she looked like in the film. She actually looked like that in the film. This is the prototype. How did we get from that to this? I really want to know. I mean, I've been on His Tank, I've been on General's Joe's, I've been all over YouTube, I've been on the Terror Dome, and I don't understand how we got from that to this. And then from this to this. It's like, wow, you think by changing up the paints, you're going to trick people? I mean, whatever. I just wanted her because I never had a Jinx figure except for the original one back in the 80s, which was a pretty decent figure, but despite the fact that the colors are right, this isn't even the same costume or type of costume she wore in the movie. This is actually just a repaint of the San Diego Comic-Con, I want to say 2012, Kimurashi Kage. I wish they just made a figure that looked like this. I said it way before in that one video I did with my problems with Retaliation. This would have been perfect. Give us a ninja head and it would have been perfect. But we still haven't even got the movie accurate red ninjas yet, so yeah. Remember these guys? I'm waiting on them too. I don't think we're gonna get them. Anyway, on with the review. So she is once again a repaint of the Comic-Con exclusive Kimurashi Kage. She comes with what you see here, which is a pretty nice surprise, which I will get to shortly. There are nice, pretty clean paint applications on the figure. I mean, all over, they did a pretty good job. Nice decoing with the, or tampoing, I'm sorry, with the Arashikage. You see it on her side. And she also has it on her back behind the sword. I should have shown you that, but it's there. But they did a good job with that all over the place, the tetragram or whatever that's called. The first issue I have with the figure is she has the generic 25th anniversary hands that don't necessarily hold her swords perfectly. One hand holds them really well, and the swords are well done. You can see that they have the what is it called? That octagonal scabbard that that she had in the movie, which is nice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, someone was paying attention. But she holds them like you can put them in her hands and they look okay. Yeah, of course on camera it's not gonna work. But when I'm doing other stuff, they just pop out of her hands, and it could be the slightest, movement, and then they pop out of her hands, and it was freaking annoying. See, just like that. I was just like, ugh. But the way you can remedy that is if you have any of the red ninjas from Retaliation, you could just use that. You could use their swords. I don't know why I said you could use that. And forgive me for all this dead space, but I gotta pose it right. Can't have her looking all Jake on my video. But once you do that, of course, she'll hold it a little bit tighter. The problem is it's a generic Ninjato, and it doesn't have the cool scabbard that hers has, and it can't fit in the sheath either. So, just a little give and take. Figured I'd let you know about that. She comes with her staff. It's really nice. It's exactly the same one as the Comic-Con exclusive version, and it's very similar to the one she had before. But now, as for the icing on the cake, I didn't even know about this when I picked up the figure, and I was like, holy crap. You press down the button on top, and the case opens up. Yeah, most times it'll get stuck a little bit, but it will at least once open up properly for you, and then you get this little arsenal. It's pretty damn nice. I was like, wow, Hasbro, where'd this come from? So she's got the little tomahawk things that, you know, you see mountain ice climbers use. They're like ice pickaxes or whatever. She's got her little fake nunchuck. She's got her bear claws. She's got size. And then that thing in the center, it's pretty nice, actually. It is a mini zip line. Now, I'm probably going to get some thinner rope or thinner line and make it a zip line. But I'm not even going to really, well, I'll show you some of it. But yeah, I'll get some thinner rope to use for the line so that it's, you know, a little bit longer than what you're going to see. But it's a very, very nice accessory. The figure, of course, she has the poseabilities as, you know, most of the G.I. Joes we've been accustomed to. She did have this red, kind of like it almost looked like a gun handle thing. And it was kind of cool, but I don't know, I misplaced it. But it was used for sliding across the zip line. And I really dug that. I have to give him props for doing that. But like I said, you can pull that piece out and then she can just scale it. Now there's a little handle thing, you see it? They can hold on to that too, and it just slides up and down the rope, which is nice, you know? It's a little detail that, you know, I wasn't expecting. I mean, it's kind of weird, but at the same time, it works. I mean, I doubt any of us collectors are really going to be having them slide back and forth on this tiny little rope. But I might switch it out for something better. But, you know, it's a decent little thing. I really dig the detailing on that staff, though. I had to show you that again. Overall, it's a decent package. She does come with a different stand. She comes with a generic, you know, dog tag stand. I put her on an old school stand because it just looks better. She does have the ankle pivot like the red ninjas. You can see because she's got such a wide stance and her feet are planted fairly flat on the ground. But she doesn't have the hidden wrist articulation that we were used to from everything, well, most things after Pursuit of Cobra. So, you know, whatever. As a result of the ankle pivot, she's got these pigeon toes, and the pigeon toes kind of piss me off because why couldn't she just have, you know, the pivot and the twist at the ankle? It's not like it's impossible. It's not like it hasn't been done. It's not like, I just don't understand that. You know, engineering is one of the things that Hasbro has been lacking really hardcore this generation. It seemed like after Pursuit of Cobra, they fired their engineers and they just did things that barely resembled what they, you know, told us they were going to give us. I mean, you've already seen that this toy doesn't even really look like the Jinx from the film. I mean, she has the colors and that's it. So it's only like a placeholder of sorts, you know, if you missed out on her from the convention. And I'm not saying that it's a poorly done figure. It's just that, you know, here we saw a character in a film wearing a bodysuit, skin tight. And what we get in toy form is a ninja suit painted the same, with the same lines and colors as the bodysuit that we saw. It would have been so much easier for them to just not sculpt all the wrinkles and not sculpt, you know, all these little divisions that you see on the ninja stuff and just give us a smooth cat suit with the yellow and black. But, you know, what do I know? I'm just a collector. She does look cool, like I said, next to your other Joes and whatnot. You know, here she is with Storm Shadow. Things don't look like they're about to go good for her. But it's, like I said, it's a mixed bag. It's not a bad figure. It's not the greatest figure. They did some things right, and they did a lot of things wrong. But in the end, it's a Jinx for people who missed out on Jinx the first time. And since I'm of that party, this is my Jinx. The accessory count is pretty big, like most of the figures in this wave. And she can hold most of her weapons. They've been resculpted so she actually could hold them, which is awesome in my book. So if you need a Jinx, this is your go-to Jinx, if you can find her. I found her in retail, strangely enough, for about $10. But I have to say that, you know, you can tell just by how straightforward these last couple reviews have been, that I've lost the, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not even motivation. I'm just not amped about these. They're lackluster figures. None of them none of them accurately resemble the characters from the film. You know, when you get them in hand and you see them up close, you're like, wow, they really shortchanged us. And I'm annoyed as fuck at all of the different outlets that review all this stuff and don't say anything. You know, they're sticklers for shit like one eye pointing this way and one eye pointing that way. Or they'll point out that there's slop in the lines and the paint applications and stuff like that, but they won't point out that the overall figure, the entire design, does not resemble what you saw in the film, you know, at all. You know, a ninja suit painted yellow and black is not the same as a cat suit. You know what I mean? You can even look at her face and you can tell from the head sculpt that she's got like a headband piece wrapped around the ninja mask. It looks really old school. That's not what she looked like in the film at all. And no one pointed this out, you know? We've had the same issue with other stuff, you know? And it's frustrating. And it doesn't take away from the fact that, you know, those of you who are looking for what you saw in the film, which many of us are, when you get this, you're going to be like, wow, that is not what I saw in the film. And then the pigeon toes don't help. And I don't know. It's just kind of a mixed bag. But overall, you know, these figures, with the exception of Ultimate Flint, and, you know, I had issues with that figure because he didn't have his beret. And I'm like, come on, dude, it's supposed to be the ultimate version of the character. Put the beret in there. But whatever, I ended up having the beret from someone else. But that's not the point. The point of the matter is they've shortchanged us a lot. You know, you look at Movie Masters by Mattel, you look at NECA and all their movie figures and stuff, and you get so much. And they take their cues and their design elements and the designs in general, they just rip them directly from the film. And then you take these and then they paint some shit they already had, the colors of what you saw in the film, and then they just sell it to you at twice the price, or, you know, $2-3 more than what the previous movie figures cost. You know, it's funny too, because, you know, when you look at Storm Shadow, that's a figure right there. They could have gotten away with it because his costume wasn't really that different from Rise of Cobra. It just didn't have a lot of the ribbing, and it had the gray elements on it. They could have just painted the gray on there. Instead, they gave us a biker suit version of the character and a concept version of the character, and they didn't give us a movie version, a movie accurate version. They already did the work. So it just goes to show you that someone up there, someone over there in Hasbro is just not on top of their game. Granted, you can't blame them if the target audience doesn't notice these things. You know what I'm saying? And it's fucking frustrating, because this is why we keep getting the shit that we get. Not to say that, you know, this is 100% shit, because, you know, no one makes Joes like the people who make G.I. Joes. But I've seen a lot of customs done by, you know, just fans and, you know, even fledgling customizers, and their designs fit and followed what was in the movie better than what Hasbro did. And Hasbro is a multi-billion-dollar company, and I know that they're, you know, G.I. Joe is only one portion of what they do, but it's a big portion because, I mean, G.I. Joe's been around for 50 years. So by now, the quality that we've come to expect should just be the quality that we've come to expect. We shouldn't have to worry about that waning. Someone at Hasbro is paid to make sure that we get the quality that, you know, the G.I. Joe name is supposed to entail. Instead, over the last couple years, actually these last 2 years since Retaliation got pushed back and then it came out, we've had a super ridiculous drop in quality. We've had the worst distribution we've probably ever had in the history of this franchise, you know? This was the worst. I remember being able to go to Toys R Us and they had everything sitting there. And I remember doing that in the 80s. And I remember in the 90s when I wasn't really so fond of G.I. Joe, all that shit was still in the store. They always had the shelves stocked. Whether that was because no one was buying it, which I doubt was the case because my friends were eating that shit up, or if it was the case that they were being like over saturated, you know what I mean? You still could find what you wanted, you know? And these days, I don't get it. With all the collectors, with all of the freaking scalpers that buy up the entire wave in the store, how can you say that, you know, these toys aren't selling? I mean, when you look at eBay and you see how many people buy up these figures and turn around and then resell them for like 3 and 4 times the price, and it's shit that should be on the shelves right now, but they took it off the shelves. How can Hasbro sit there and tell all of us that, oh, we're not buying the figures as much as they need us to in order for them to continue making this stuff? Like, it's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. I mean, come on. I found Jinx and I found Blind Master at a Walgreens. I had been to 2 or 3 Toys R Us's and they didn't have them. My brother had been to a couple Toys R Us's and they didn't have them. They had one set of them, and he bought the majority of the figures in that. But one Toys R Us in a 6-month period, that's sad. They've pulled them from Walmart. They've pulled them from Target. I don't know. Somebody is really dropping the ball. And this is just, what, a handful of years, about 6 years after Rise of Cobra. I want to say roughly 5 or 6 years. And Rise of Cobra, the movie was it was a bomb. And the figures were all over the place. Kids were buying them. Adults were buying them. Scalpers were buying them. Yet you could find all the figures in the store at multiple stores. You know, I'm talking Walmart, Target, Big Lots. I found a lot of them at Marshall's and TJ Maxx. And I mean, you were finding them everywhere. Fucking Giant Eagle. I was finding them at Kroger. I mean, after seeing that, there's no way they could say they weren't making money off of that stuff. I mean, it was being sold. And considering the amount of figures you were seeing in all these places, yeah, they were making money. So, I don't know. It's really it's taking its toll, I guess I have to say. You know, I enjoy Joe's. I enjoy the collection I have. But, like, as far as new stuff goes, the only Joe figure right now that I really want would be that red ninja that I showed you earlier, the movie accurate one. And even that, since I don't believe that we're gonna get one, it sucks. I'd pay $100, I'd get 10 of them, because they were probably the army builder I wanted the most, next to the combat ninja, which we all know we're not gonna find because they've been scalping it hard. I've seen it on eBay. I think the lowest I've seen it on eBay was like $19.99, maybe a little bit lower, like $17. But I'm not doing that again for Joe. I actually paid about that for Ultimate Duke, and I refuse. And I'm gonna when I get to the Ultimate Duke review, you're gonna hear a whole lot of different stuff because, man, I don't know. From engineering down to following the model, you know, and when I say following the model, I mentioned this before in previous videos. Following the model means what you see as the final design sheet for whatever the character is supposed to look like. Final costume design, final concept design, whatever. That's what this figure should look like. And that's not what we got. And, you know, there's a portion to this that, you know, I guess they can say a little kid is not going to really notice. And you're right. But considering that little kids aren't the ones buying these, they're not the ones doing toy runs from place to place so they can find, you know, figure A or figure B, that's not a good excuse for you to completely, you know, slack on your job. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of you are going to be out there and just go like, wow, he's being really hardcore on them. But I mean, seriously, I freelance, and if someone says, draw me Morpheus, and I draw them the Joker, they're going to be like, yeah, that's not Morpheus. You know, if I draw the Joker and paint his face brown, it's not Morpheus. You know, yeah, he's wearing a purple suit. Yeah, he's got a trench coat on. But no, that's not the same character. You know what I'm saying? It's not on model. He needs his little snake skin or croc skin coat with his croc skin shoes, and he needs to be brown, and he needs to have the cool shiny glasses, and he needs to be bald-headed. And if he's not, then I'm not drawing what they asked me to draw. You know what I'm saying? So if Hasbro was being they have the license to the character and they're telling us that this is, you know, the movie line, I'm expecting more than just The Rock and Snake Eyes to be movie accurate. Because if you pay attention, I think The Rock, Snake Eyes, and roughly Flint, they're the only movie accurate figures in the whole line. Period. So, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm Strident, and it's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And as far as Jinx goes, if you like Jinx, this is probably worth it. If you are looking for a movie accurate figure, then it's not worth it at all. So, you know, this has been a review of Retaliation Jinx, and I'll see you in the next review, guys. Peace.